Today, the world pauses in quiet reflection, for extraordinary lives each distinct. Each monumental have passed, leaving behind legacies that touch the heart of culture, history, and human aspiration, from the ice rinks of Montreal to the hallowed halls of art and journalism, from the nuanced stages of cinema to the corridors of political power. These men shaped the way we see, feel, and understand the world. Their triumphs were not measured merely in accolades or fame, but in the subtle yet profound ways they influenced generations, inspired peers, and transformed their crafts. Today, we honor Joseph Rousseau, Louis Cannon, Robert Mnuchin, and James Ranson, men whose presence enriched our lives and whose absence will be deeply felt. The news arrived quietly, yet it struck like a sudden winter storm across the hockey world. Joseph Jean-Paul Robert Rousseau, the legendary ice warrior, passed away on December 13, 2025. In Montreal and across Canada, fans paused, remembering a man whose life was defined by speed, skill, and an unrelenting drive on the ice. Rousseau was more than an athlete. He was a symbol of dedication, discipline, and grace under pressure, whose influence stretched far beyond the rinks he mastered. Born on July 26, 1940 in Quebec, Joseph Rousseau grew up in a world shaped by frost, snow, and the rhythm of skates. Carving through ice from a young age, his talent was evident. He moved with a natural fluidity, his movements precise yet instinctive, as if the ice itself guided him. Early coaches recall a boy who was fiercely competitive but always respectful, someone who understood that the game demanded both heart and mind. He wasn't just fast on his skates, one childhood coach remembered. He had a way of seeing plays before they happened, anticipating the game like few could. By 1960, Rousseau had earned a spot on the Canadian national team for the Winter Olympics. The Games were a defining moment, and though Canada secured a silver medal, Rousseau's performance announced him to the world as a rising star. Observers noted his ability to combine elegance with aggression, to navigate the ice with intelligence as much as physical strength. For him, the medal was not merely a personal achievement, it was a stepping stone toward a career that would become legendary. Rousseau's entry into the NHL came in 1960, a time when the league was growing in prominence, and players were expected to endure a grueling schedule of travel, physicality, and relentless competition. Joining the Montreal Canadiens, he quickly made an impact. In 1962, he earned the Calder Memorial Trophy as NHL Rookie of the Year, a recognition of not only his talent but his dedication to mastering every element of the game. His speed and agility were matched by an unshakable work ethic. Joe pushed all of us to be better, recalled a former teammate. He never let up, and he never let anyone give anything less than their best. Over the course of a 14-year NHL career, Rousseau became synonymous with excellence. He helped the Canadiens secure 4 Stanley Cup victories in 1965, 1966, 1968, and 1969, cementing his place in the annals of hockey history. These championships were not just milestones. They were reflections of a man who valued teamwork, resilience, and the quiet courage it took to perform under pressure. Fans remember watching him glide across the ice, a steady emotion, blending power and finesse, leaving defenders struggling to match his speed and anticipation. Beyond the statistics and accolades, Rousseau's character left an enduring impression. He was known as much for his mentorship off the ice as for his performance on it. Younger players often sought his guidance, finding in him a role model who balanced ambition with humility. He treated every player like family. One former teammate said, he cared about the person as much as the athlete, and that made him extraordinary. His sportsmanship and integrity became a standard in a sport defined by intensity and competition. Rousseau's personal life reflected the same dedication and warmth that marked his professional career. Family and friends remember a man who valued connection, who found joy in quiet moments away from the rink. Despite the fame and attention, he remained grounded, often returning to Quebec to reconnect with his roots and to remind himself of the values that shaped him. In interviews later in life, Rousseau spoke humbly about his achievements. Hockey gave me everything, he said, but it's the people along the way, teammates, coaches, fans, who made it truly unforgettable. The hockey world mourned his passing deeply. Tributes poured in from across Canada and beyond, from former teammates to fans who had followed his career for decades. Social media was filled with memories of iconic games, unforgettable plays, and moments of quiet leadership. One fan wrote, "Joseph Rousseau didn't just play hockey, he taught us how to love it." Another former opponent reflected, "He was a competitor, yes, but he was also a gentleman on and off the ice. That balance is rare." Rousseau's legacy extends beyond the rink. He inspired countless young athletes to pursue their passion with integrity, showing that success is measured not only in trophies but in the respect and admiration earned through character and dedication. His story reminds us of a time when hockey demanded excellence, patience, and heart, and of a man who embodied those qualities completely. Looking back on his career, it becomes clear that Rousseau's influence was as much about the moments between the headlines as the victories themselves. The quiet guidance he offered to emerging players, the consistent dedication to his team, and the love he carried for the game created ripples that will be felt for generations. In Montreal and beyond, arenas hold the echoes of his name. Fans remember his effortless grace, and young players continue to emulate his style and mindset. Joseph Rousseau leaves behind more than records and trophies. He leaves a culture of respect, a model of perseverance, and a memory of the poetry of the game. Today, the hockey world pauses not just to mourn his passing, but to celebrate a life lived with intensity, humility, and passion. In the rush of a puck across the ice, the cheer of the crowd, and the stories shared in locker rooms and living rooms alike, Rousseau's spirit endures. As the sun sets over Montreal and the echoes of skates fade from the ice, one is reminded of the quiet power of a life dedicated to excellence. Joseph Jean-Paul Robert Rousseau skated with purpose, lived with heart, and left a legacy that will continue to inspire athletes and fans alike. His journey through sport and life reminds us that greatness is not only achieved through skill, but through the courage, integrity, and love one leaves behind. The news arrived quietly, but it carried the weight of an entire era. Louis Simeon Cannon, the esteemed journalist who chronicled the corridors of power with unwavering integrity, passed away on December 19, 2025 at the age of 92. In newsrooms across the country, colleagues paused to remember a man whose life was devoted to the pursuit of truth, patience, and clarity. Cannon's career was not built on spectacle or headlines, but on meticulous reporting, careful observation, and a deep respect for history. His passing marks the closing of a chapter in American journalism, a moment to reflect on a life defined by dedication to public trust and intellectual honesty. Born in 1933, Cannon grew up in a time when journalism demanded rigor and perseverance. Typewriters clattered late into the night, telephones rang incessantly, and reporters walked the streets with notebooks in hand, chasing every lead. It was in this world that Cannon honed his craft. From the beginning, he sought stories not for sensationalism, but for understanding, aiming to illuminate the complexities of power and leadership. Early mentors recall a young man who read voraciously, asked persistent questions, and possessed a keen sense of context. Even then, you could tell he was destined for the front lines of history. One former editor reflected, Cannon's rise in journalism was steady and deliberate. He began as a state bureau chief for the San Jose Mercury News, covering local politics with precision and fairness. His reporting was noted for its clarity and restraint, qualities that earned him respect among colleagues and officials alike. By the 1970s, his reputation had grown, and he transitioned to the Washington Post, where he would eventually serve as senior White House correspondent during the Reagan presidency. In that role, Cannon observed power from a close vantage point, yet remained a careful chronicler rather than a participant. He understood that his duty was to witness, interpret, and convey, without distortion. Covering the White House in such a dynamic political era demanded more than skill. It required judgment, discretion, and moral courage. Cannon navigated sensitive topics and complex personalities with a steady hand, ensuring that each report reflected accuracy over intrigue. Lewis never chased a story for the wrong reasons. A fellow correspondent recalled, he believed that trust was the currency of journalism, and he spent his life protecting it. His colleagues often marveled at his ability to balance access and independence, providing readers with insight while maintaining the objectivity essential to the craft. Cannon's contributions went far beyond daily reporting. He authored 5 biographies of Ronald Reagan, each a careful study of the man and the era he represented. These works combine thorough research with narrative clarity, offering readers a bridge between political leadership and public understanding. In interviews, Cannon described his approach as one of quiet diligence. My goal is never to entertain, but to explain. History deserves patience, and so do the people who live through it. Through these writings, he left an enduring record of a pivotal time in American history, one that continues to inform scholars, journalists, and citizens alike. Throughout his career, Cannon's integrity earned him respect from both peers and sources. Politicians admired his fairness, fellow journalists appreciated his precision, and readers trusted his judgment. Social media and tributes following his death reflected this broad influence. One historian wrote, Lewis Cannon didn't just report history, he preserved it with care and clarity. Another former colleague shared, he treated every story, every interview with the seriousness it deserved. That discipline shaped an entire generation of reporters. Cannon's work extended beyond the bylines and books. He mentored countless young journalists, teaching them the importance of verification, context, and restraint in a profession where speed often overtakes accuracy. Cannon's philosophy emphasized patience and reflection. He encouraged reporters to see themselves as custodians of truth, not mere conveyors of news. He reminded us that journalism isn't about being first, one former mentee reflected. It's about being right, and about understanding the human story behind every event. His personal life mirrored the calm, measured presence he exhibited professionally. Family and friends describe him as thoughtful, kind, and grounded. A man who valued conversation and curiosity. He remained engaged with the world around him, attentive to the nuances of politics, culture, and society, but never let the pressures of his work overwhelm his character. Even in retirement, he continued to write, read, and mentor, committed to the principles that guided his life. Cannon's passing invites reflection on the enduring importance of principled journalism. In an age of fast news, social media, and sensationalism, his career stands as a testament to the power of accuracy, patience, and ethical reporting. He demonstrated that the role of a journalist is not merely to inform, but to illuminate, contextualize, and preserve. His life reminds us that access to truth requires vigilance, discipline, and courage, and that those who dedicate themselves to these ideals leave a lasting impact. Far beyond the printed page, tributes poured in from around the nation. Former colleagues, public figures, and readers shared stories of Cannon's dedication, his mentorship, and his unwavering commitment to clarity. Lewis taught us how to ask the right questions, and more importantly, how to listen, a former White House correspondent said. A historian noted. He bridged the gap between power and the public with dignity and rigor. His work will endure. These reflections capture the essence of a man who spent his life observing history, chronicling it with precision, and ensuring that truth was never sacrificed for spectacle. Cannon's legacy is visible not only in his reporting and biographies, but in the countless journalists he inspired. They carry forward his example, upholding the standards he set, striving for accuracy, and remembering the responsibility inherent in every story told. He showed that the craft of journalism is more than a profession. It is a public trust, a bridge between leaders and citizens, and a record of the times that shapes collective memory. As we reflect on Louis Simeon Cannon's life, it is clear that his impact was profound and lasting. He reminded the world that reporting with integrity is a service to society, that stories deserve context, and that patience is as valuable as speed. His meticulous work preserved the essence of history, ensuring that future generations can understand the people and events that shape their world. In the quiet corners of newsrooms, in the pages of newspapers and books, and in the memories of those who worked beside him, Cannon's presence remains. He exemplified the power of journalism to illuminate, to guide, and to endure. His life was a testament to careful observation, thoughtful interpretation, and steadfast dedication. The news arrived quietly, but its impact rippled through the worlds of art and finance alike. Robert Elliott Nuchin, the visionary collector and gallery founder, passed away on December 19, 2025, at the age of 92. In New York and across the international art community, admirers paused to reflect on a life that bridged wealth and culture, commerce and creativity. Nuchin was not defined by numbers or transactions. He was defined by vision, passion, and a lifelong devotion to preserving and celebrating art. His passing marks the end of an era, yet the legacy he leaves behind continues to inspire collectors, artists, and audiences around the world. Born into an era of opportunity, Nuchin began his career at Goldman Sachs, navigating the high-stakes world of finance with skill and foresight. Yet even as he mastered investment banking, there was a deeper calling that beckoned, a love of art that would eventually shape the second half of his life. Friends recall a young Nuchin studying paintings with the same meticulous attention he gave to financial statements, seeing not just colors and shapes, but history, emotion, and potential. From the beginning, he understood that art is more than an object. One early colleague remembered, "It's a dialogue with the world," and he wanted to be part of that conversation. In 1978, Nuchin founded the Nuchin Gallery in New York City, transforming his private passion into a public platform for artists and collectors alike. The gallery became a hub for creativity, showcasing works from masters like Willem D. Kooning and emerging voices, who would later define contemporary art. Visitors often remarked on the unique environment he cultivated, one where commerce never overshadowed creativity, where each piece was treated with respect and contextual insight. Nuchin believed that art had the power to bridge worlds, and he worked tirelessly to connect artists with audiences and collectors with history. One of the most iconic moments in Mnuchin's collecting career came in 2019 with his acquisition of Jeff Koons's rabbit for $80 million, the highest price ever paid for a living artist. Yet even in a transaction that made headlines, Mnuchin's approach was thoughtful and measured. He emphasized the importance of preserving cultural significance, ensuring that the work would inspire future generations rather than simply exist as a commodity. Robert taught us that collecting is not about status, one fellow curator reflected. It's about responsibility, stewardship, and vision beyond acquisitions. Mnuchin's influence was deeply personal. He mentored countless collectors, guiding them to appreciate the history and context behind each work rather than chasing trends. Artists, too, found in him a champion who understood the demands of creation and the value of recognition. Interviews with gallery visitors recall moments of quiet insight, when Mnuchin would discuss the philosophy of a painting or the trajectory of a career with warmth and clarity. His ability to connect people's art and to each other through art became a hallmark of his legacy. Mnuchin's life was not without its contrasts. He operated in the precise, structured world of finance while embracing the fluid, often unpredictable world of art, yet he saw these worlds as complementary rather than conflicting. Robert had a unique gift, one former colleague said. He understood numbers and beauty, risk and creativity, and he used both to build something enduring. His dual expertise allowed him to navigate the art market with discernment, while never losing sight of the work's intrinsic value. Even in retirement, Mnuchin remained an active force in the art community. He continued to attend exhibitions, offer guidance, and support institutions that preserved and promoted creative expression. His presence was a reminder that collecting was more than ownership. It was engagement, education, and a commitment to cultural heritage. Artists remember him as both a patron and a friend, someone who believed in the transformative power of art to shape thought and inspire dialogue. Mnuchin's generosity extended beyond galleries and collections. He was involved in philanthropic efforts that supported museums, educational programs, and young artists, believing that access to culture should be both broad and meaningful. Robert saw art as a shared experience. A museum director reflected. He wanted people to encounter it, to learn from it, and to carry that experience forward. Through these efforts, his impact reached far beyond his own acquisitions, influencing communities, institutions, and the global cultural landscape. Throughout his life, Mnuchin's vision remained consistent, that art is not a luxury but a responsibility. He treated each piece he collected with reverence, understanding that it represented history, emotion, and the labor of creation. Colleagues often remarked on his keen eye for both quality and significance, his ability to discern the profound from the fleeting. He had the patience of a scholar and the intuition of an artist. One longtime curator said, that combination allowed him to see what others might overlook. The art world mourned deeply at his passing. Tributes poured in from artists, collectors, and institutions, all emphasizing his generosity, mentorship, and insight. Social media buzzed with recollections of gallery visits, pivotal exhibitions, and private discussions that left lasting impressions. Robert Mnuchin changed the way I see art, one young collector wrote. He taught me that every piece has a story, a soul, and a responsibility to carry forward. Another artist reflected, he believed in us before anyone else did, and that belief made all the difference. Mnuchin's legacy is evident not only in the works he acquired or the galleries he founded, but in the relationships he cultivated and the principles he championed. He bridged the worlds of commerce and creativity, showing that success in business could coexist with dedication to beauty, culture, and history. His life serves as a reminder that vision, passion, and thoughtful stewardship can create a cultural footprint that endures far beyond any market trend. Looking back on Robert Mnuchin's journey, one sees a life defined by curiosity, diligence, and generosity. He exemplified how an individual could operate at the intersection of finance and art, using expertise and insight to shape not only collections, but the broader understanding of culture. His mentorship, support, and careful stewardship helped define a generation of collectors and ensure that the value of art remained grounded in its meaning, not just its price. As the lights in the galleries dim and visitors leave exhibitions, the impact of Mnuchin's life continues to resonate. Every conversation about art, every curated collection, and every inspired young collector carries a trace of his guidance. Through his work, he ensured that art would remain a living dialogue, a bridge between creators, audiences, and future generations. Robert Elliott Mnuchin leaves behind a legacy of vision, integrity, and passion. He demonstrated that the pursuit of beauty can coexist with practicality, that stewardship is a form of artistry, and that one person's dedication can inspire countless others. In the galleries he nurtured, the artists he supported, and the collectors he guided, his influence endures. his life reminds us that art is not simply to be admired, but to be protected, shared, and celebrated. Through every painting acquired, every exhibition curated, and every mentee inspired, Mnuchin's presence will continue to shape the cultural world he loved. His legacy is a testament to the power of dedication, the importance of vision, and the enduring value of bridging worlds. Robert Elliott Mnuchin will be remembered not only as a collector, but as a guardian of art, a mentor, and a man whose life transformed the way we see, understand, and honor creativity. The world of film and television paused in quiet disbelief on December 19, 2025, as news came that James Philly Ranson III had passed away at the age of 46. For fans, colleagues, and the countless viewers whose lives he touched through his work, the loss was immediate and profound. Ranson was not a star who sought the spotlight. He was an actor who sought truth, a performer who disappeared into each role with a fearless vulnerability. His passing leaves behind a legacy of emotional authenticity, a body of work that continues to resonate long after the cameras have stopped rolling. Born in 1979, Ranson grew up in a world far removed from Hollywood glamour. His early years were shaped by curiosity, observation, and a quiet intensity that would later define his performances. Friends recall a young man who was introspective, but deeply attentive to the human experience around him. Even as a teenager, he noticed things others overlooked. One family friend said, "He had this rare ability to see the subtleties of emotion and behavior, and I think that followed him onto the screen." Ranson's first major breakthrough came with his portrayal of Ziggy Sobotka in The Wire. The role demanded vulnerability, a raw honesty, and a depth of character rarely captured on television. Critics and audiences alike were struck by his commitment to truth, his willingness to embrace the flawed, complicated aspects of his characters. Directors would later describe him as an actor who listens with his whole body, someone whose presence elevated every scene he entered. Following The Wire, Ranson built a career defined by diversity and intensity. His work spanned television and film, including roles in Generation Kill, Sinister, Tangerine, A Chapter 2, and The Black Phone. Each performance carried the same unflinching dedication to character. Co-stars often remarked on his meticulous preparation and deep empathy, noting that he never took a scene lightly. "James made you feel the truth of the moment," a director once said. "He didn't just act. He inhabited life, in all its complexity, despite the critical acclaim and audience recognition." Fame never softened Ranson's approach. He remained grounded, focused on the craft rather than the accolades. Interviews reveal a man who valued the integrity of storytelling above all else. He spoke candidly about his process, saying, "I want the audience to see a person, not a performance. That's the challenge I set for myself every day." This philosophy made him a favorite among filmmakers who sought authenticity and emotional depth. Ranson's work was often emotionally demanding, requiring him to navigate vulnerability, intensity, and darkness with care. In films like Sinister and A Chapter 2, he explored complex psychological landscapes, balancing terror with empathy. Actors and crew members recall a professional who approached each scene with preparation, humility, and respect for the story. One co-star reflected, "Working with James was like watching someone translate human emotion into pure art. He could make you feel fear, sorrow, or hope with just a glance." Off-screen, Ranson was known for his quiet demeanor and generosity of spirit. Friends describe a man who was deeply thoughtful, a listener, and someone who valued meaningful connections over public recognition. He maintained close friendships with colleagues and often mentored younger actors, sharing insights into character development and the subtleties of performance. He had this gentle way of guiding you. One mentee recalled, "James wasn't just teaching technique, he was teaching empathy." The passing of Ranson at such a young age sent shockwaves through the industry and social media. Alike, fans shared stories of how his characters had touched their lives, providing comfort, reflection, or inspiration in moments both ordinary and profound. One fan wrote, "James Ranson showed me the beauty of imperfection and the strength in vulnerability." Another co-star shared his talent was extraordinary, but his heart was even greater. He lifted every set he walked onto. Ranson's approach to acting was holistic. He believed in understanding the lives, motivations, and fears of his characters, often spending months preparing for a role. He would research extensively, observe quietly, and immerse himself in environments that would lend authenticity to his performance. This dedication was evident in every scene, creating a resonance that lingered long after the credits rolled. Audiences often found themselves moved by subtle gestures, quiet moments, or fleeting expressions that conveyed a world of emotion. Throughout his career, Ranson remained committed to stories that explored humanity in all its facets, from the struggles of ordinary people to the extremes of fear and danger. He sought to reveal the truth behind the mask. Critics noted his ability to balance intensity with nuance, ensuring that even the most harrowing scenes retained a sense of empathy. He understood that drama is nothing without heart, a director reflected. James always made you care. His influence extended beyond his roles. Younger actors often cited Ranson as a model of integrity and professionalism. His presence on set fostered collaboration, respect, and a shared commitment to excellence. Crew members recall his ability to maintain focus, while also offering quiet encouragement, creating an environment where every participant felt valued and heard. He never made it about himself. One assistant director said, James was about the story, about the truth, and about everyone involved in bringing it to life. In reflecting on his life, it becomes clear that Ranson's legacy is not only in the characters he portrayed, but in the humanity he revealed through them. His work reminds us that acting is more than performance. It is a lens through which we can understand ourselves, our struggles, and our shared experiences. Each role he inhabited carried a sincerity and depth that inspired both audiences and peers, leaving an enduring imprint on contemporary cinema and television. Ranson's passing also serves as a reminder of the fragility and urgency of life. At just 46, he left behind a rich tapestry of performances, each contributing to a broader understanding of human emotion and narrative. Tributes from colleagues, critics, and fans emphasized not only his skill but his spirit, his humility, and the care with which he approached both work and relationships. One co-star wrote, James had a rare gift. He could make you see yourself in his characters, and in doing so, he made the world a little more honest. As the curtain closes on James Ranson's life, his legacy continues to speak through the quiet power of his performances, from the small gestures to the climactic moments. His work invites reflection, empathy, and understanding. He leaves behind a body of work that will continue to teach, move, and inspire, reminding future generations of the depth that cinema and television can achieve. When approached with authenticity and heart, James Ranson's life was a testament to dedication, courage, and the pursuit of truth in art. He revealed the complexities of human emotion with honesty, giving audiences a mirror to their own experiences. His work transcends entertainment. It is a study in empathy, a celebration of vulnerability, and a reflection of the human spirit. As viewers return to his performances, they are met with the quiet reminder of a man who lived fully inside his characters and, through them, touched countless lives. Even in silence, his presence lingers on screen. Each role is a testament to his commitment, each scene a reminder of his empathy, and each story an enduring tribute to his craft. James Finley Ranson III will be remembered not only as an extraordinary actor but as a storyteller who revealed humanity in its rawest and most beautiful form. His legacy endures in the performances, the memories, and the hearts of those who experienced his work, a quiet yet powerful echo of a life devoted to truth, art, and the human story.